So I want to get to a part of this in the political space, Allie. Wouldn't this explain then how in a non-disciplined, a Christian not rooted in Scripture could fall for open borders, mass amnesty, the abortion laws, because they know they're supposed to be compassionate, and then progressives weaponize the compassion towards their sinister worldview. Can you help build that out for us?
Yes, and they typically do so by taking verses out of context. So you mentioned illegal immigration. They might point to, well, in the Old Testament, Israel is called to love the sojourner because they were sojourners, or Jesus says to love the least of these, and therefore we have to be for open borders. Now, if you asked them what they mean by open borders, or if you ask them what they meant by immigration policy, they wouldn't be able to tell you. Usually they say they're not for open borders, but when it gets down to it, they don't believe in any border enforcement. And they do this in the name of empathy. And there's a great example of this in my book where we tell this story, and we tell it from the left wing perspective to try to get people to see what this looks like. The Washington Post reported about Maribel Diaz, and she was a mom who fled gang violence in Mexico. She built a life in Fairfield, Ohio. She was there illegally, and then she was deported by Donald Trump. She was separated from her family. And of course, the Washington Post at the end of it wants us to exclusively feel for her, and then to conclude that deportation is always wrong, that it's racist, and that we shouldn't basically have any border enforcement. But then we show the flip side of that. Who's on the other side of the illegal immigration equation? It's Kate Steinle. And we tell her story from an equally heart-rending perspective. And we show people, look, on every single topic, there are people who demand our compassion, who demand our empathy. The question really isn't who gets in our feelings the most. Our question is, what is true? What is factually true? Most importantly, what is biblically true? And that's what I lay out in the book.
So I want to now get to some examples here. So the church currently, most pastors say, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. But this is an example of toxic empathy. This is Kamala Harris when she was running for president, bragging about giving prisoners taxpayer-funded transgender sex changes. Because if you have empathy, then you must empathize with the murderer, the killer, and then give them what they want.